There's now a man in Vegas who's claiming to be Elvis's son. He looks and sounds like the king, but this is Elvis Presley Jr., and he has quite a story to tell.
First of all, I was born in 1961 to an actress and a showgirl, and I was given up for adoption. Back then it was taboo to, for an entertainer not to be married, to have a child born out of wedlock.
His mother was an actress named Dolores Pettyjohn. She starred in the film Clambake with Elvis, and that's how they met. So Junior, as he likes to be called, was adopted by a circus couple. Even as a child, long before he knew of his alleged roots to Elvis, he knew music would be his career.
My upbringing was Dean Martin. Dean Martin was my idol. I used to sit and watch all his TV shows and listen to his music. Later on in life, I found out that Dean Martin was Elvis Presley Sr.'s idol also.
Later would be in his 20s. Junior did not even find out he was adopted until he turned 21. But even the parents who raised him were not sure who his real father was. Elvis Jr. got lucky. He made contact with Dolores Fuller, who wrote 18 hit songs for Elvis Sr. She became convinced he was the real thing and helped him get in contact with people like the legendary Elvis manager, Colonel Parker, who believed his story. Today, Junior is comfortable with who he is and performs all over the world.
They'll see me as Elvis Presley Jr., like Frank Sinatra Jr., Hank Williams Jr., just a junior doing his own thing, too.
Now Elvis Jr. is working on a movie about his life. He's calling it My Boy.
My Boy is based on also a song that Elvis Sr. recorded.
You're sleeping, son, I know, but really this can't wait. I wanted to explain before it gets too late. Her mother and me, love has finally died. This is no happy home, but God knows how I cry. Because you're my boy, you are my life, my pride, my joy. And if I stay, I'll stay because of you, my boy.
He claims his father was the king.
The showgirl that handed me over said, take care of this child, he belonged to Elvis.
And this man says he's Elvis Presley's son and that he has proved it with a blood test. And this is unique. And you were told that Elvis Presley was your father. What did you do then?
It was very hard for me to accept the fact, first of all, that I was adopted, that I wasn't the real child of my parents. That's the first shock that you get, because you love your family very much. And when you have very special parents that have raised you through everything and given you everything that they possibly can to help you.
And they were circus performers, right, your parents?
Yes, ma'am.
And you grew up working in the circus.
I grew up working in the circus.
Oh, we got pictures. Wait a minute. We got pictures. Here's Elvis Presley Jr. as a clown. How old were you here in this photo?
I was 5 years old when I first entered show business. And, of course, the circus is a very, very glamorous atmosphere, and also...
Here you are as an animal trainer, which you also did in the circus, right?
Later on in life, I was 17 years old there.
But you do perform, though. You do perform.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to see if he sounds like Elvis?
Return to sender, return to sender, return to sender, return to sender. I gave a letter to the postman. He put it in his sack. Bright and early next morning, he brought my letter back. She wrote upon it, return to sender, address unknown, no such number, no such zone. Well, we had a quarrel, but love is spat. Oh, I'm sorry, but my letter ain't coming back.
When you decided to proceed to change your name and ask your parents to sign something saying they were not your parents, Did you at that time feel that you wanted to have a career singing with the name Elvis Aaron Presley Jr.?
Not really. I wanted to prove it to myself before I could go out to the public. Being Elvis Presley Jr. is who I am, so I had to project that. It was a very, very hard choice, but it was something that I had to do for myself.
Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take you back to 1969 and do a song that turned the world upside down with Suspicious Minds. I'm calling a shot. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. What can you see? What you doing to me? When you don't believe a word I say. We can't go on together with suspicious minds, and we can build our dreams on suspicious minds. So when we open our door, I wanna say hello. When you still see suspicion in your eyes, dear. Here we go again. Ask you where I've been. When you don't believe the tears that I cry. We can't go on together in suspicious minds. And we can build our dreams on suspicious minds.
You have been working with Elvis as a musical conductor.
Yes.
During the last years, I think, of his life.
Yes.
You have been working with many big stars, like, for instance, Barbra Streisand. What made you decide to work with him now?
Well, I've had many Elvis impersonators. See, I had been with Elvis when we first opened up at the International Hotel in 1969. And it was a tremendous opening. And since leaving Elvis, I had many impersonators that wanted me to handle them. But I just didn't want to get involved with impersonators, you might say.
Did you, in the beginning, think he was another one?
Well, actually I did, yes. In the beginning, I thought that he was another impersonator. So his people tried to call me many times, and I just refused to even meet with him. Until one day he came up to my studio and presented himself. And I discovered that he was very authentic. I mean, all the papers and everything about him was credited and authenticated. Mm-hmm. And I decided to get involved in his career. Mm-hmm. And I also found out that he's got a lot of talent.
We'll find that out in a minute.
Yes.
Even though you did a lot of efforts to make yourself believable, you have your passport now, you will have to live with the thought that people always will doubt whether you are his son. Isn't that an awful feeling?
Definitely. It's a very, very hard thing to take. And basically the name does not mean anything. The Presley name is so big. And to me, there was only one great king of rock and roll, one legend. I'm not here trying to take his place, but trying to do my own stuff to come out and face the public with reality. And today, in this stage and era, people can really find out about an entertainer and let the entertainer speak for himself. So what I'm really trying to do is get my own life going and trying to eliminate living in his shadow.
Did you like him when he was still alive and you had no idea who you were? Did you like him as a performer?
He wasn't my idol. I've never idolized him. I idolized Dean Martin and a lot of other entertainers, Liberace and stuff like that. But, since I am who I am, I've got to portray a part of his life. Because people walk up to me and they say, well, if you're Elvis Presley Jr., how come your hair is not black? How come you don't have sideburns? How come you don't dress like him, sing his songs, and wear his costumes? It was a very, very hard thing to do. It's very hard. So what I'm doing is just trying to satisfy the public. And I am coming out with my own original material. I've done so many original songs, and I've got some playing across Canada right now and some parts of the United States. But breaking the ice to the public to show
Well,
them
that's difficult for any performer. Wouldn't you rather break it with your own thing?
It's very hard. As I said earlier, if I come on as myself with my hair combed naturally and everything, people say, well, how come you don't comb your hair like your father? I've tried it. And then they say, why don't you wear his costumes when he sings his songs? And,
About the costume, this belt looks very familiar.
Yeah, this belt here is the original belt from the via satellite in Hawaii. It was thrown in the audience.
He threw it to the audience, I remember that. Yeah.
At the very end of the concert.
Were you there to catch it?
No. No, I wasn't there, but I was there to buy it later on through the years when they offered it on a private auction.